to use it.
That's really odd because I've got all the things allowing you. You know, you got
Not even showing up this time. Can you make me a panelist? Try it this time.
Yeah, let's try it. Okay. Yes!
Boom!
We did it! Hey, finally. Bloody hell, that's a mission. What was that? What did you do?
No idea. I think it was the settings that you had when you did it initially is what happened.
It's just exactly the same settings, which is even weirder. I don't know. Yeah, well, welcome to Mic Drops Up Close. Really appreciate it. I know you're like really, really busy.
I'm actually not.
You're not? Oh God, that's rare.
Well, I don't use that word. I don't allow myself to. It's busy as a choice. I actually think busy is one of the worst words in the English language. It's a horrible misconception. The word business itself is a fucked up word because people think that it's busyness. So people think that they're busy, they're in business, and that's not true. I make time for the things that matter, and I don't make time for the things that don't. So I think busy is a choice, and it's a badge of honor in our culture. I used to say it all, I'm so busy, as if that makes you an important person. It means you're not prioritizing your shit right, and you're probably overextended, and you probably need to slow.
Yeah. Well, I certainly need to get more priority in my life. I tell you that much. It's very, very tricky. A lot of juggling going on, but I love the mindset. But you know, that's a brilliant. You know, it's good to just block out those sort of words for the reasons that you expressed. It's something I'll probably try and take on, do it myself. But I want you, with Mic Drops Up Close, what we do is we talk to entrepreneurs about, you know, their journey, how you came to where you are. I mean, I know I followed you, and you know, I know a bit of your story, and it's pretty amazing. And you know, the story when you were in London, and there's two guys, sort of like, you know, I'll let you explain it. But that really struck home with me massively because you know, where you explained that you had to niche down. You didn't have to niche. You realised you were trying to do too many things, and then you found your purpose in life. And once you found your purpose, that was it. You went flying with it all. And I've seen your ads, I've seen your copy. It's amazing. I mean, Ian Stanley is an amazing copywriter. Your ads have been stitches every freaking time. It's like, honestly, I swear to God, I've got a childish humour and I don't care. You know, I am me. And personally, I love stuff like that because in a life full of a lot of, you know, stresses, there's nothing better than, you know, seeing your ads and stuff like that, you know, really.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, man. Which ones are you talking about specifically?
Well, I swear, all of them are brilliant. You know, I mean, actually, one of my favourites is the Ty Lopez spin-off. I quite like the Grant Cardone. I've got a friend actually who's hosting an event. He's there bringing the 10X thing to the UK. And my friend Matt's actually doing the event part of his team for the UK base. And he's coming down soon in Scotland and London. And I just the spin of the way you do it, it's just funny. Like, it's just, again, it's my humour. It's what I'm like, but I love it.
I mean, it's been surprising how many people watch those and enjoy them. I mean, every time I go to events now, most everybody in our industry has seen at least one of those videos. And a lot of the times they don't even know it's me, you know, it's funny how much or a different voice and stuff change people's perspectives. They'll be like, oh my God, you're Lai Topaz? That's cool.
It's brilliant. I put a couple of links to some of the ones that you've done when I'm posted out a couple of days ago. But there's quite a few you've done, which I think are bloody brilliant. You did one actually. It was Ty Lopez at his home. I just loved it when you're apparently his home. When you're walking around and you're talking about, you know, you're just picking out people and saying, yeah, he's my servant pretty much. And
servants, yeah. That's the first one I ever did. That was at the chateau in France where.
Right. I just love it. And like the beach one. Welcome to my private beach.
This is the beach in Santa Monica. definitely not private.
That is so funny. I just love it. You see these random people like that. What the hell is he on about? I'm his servant, kind of thing. I just love it. It's brilliant.
Well, the funny thing is that first video. So that's where I'd got the idea. We were staying in this massive chateau in France, out in like an hour and a half outside of Paris, and I was there with like all these really high level entrepreneurs. It's like Mike Geary, who has been around since forever, and Tyler Bremer, and all these. It was mainly a bunch of health guys, really, but these are like, especially at the time, this is a couple of years ago now. I was definitely the youngest and least successful person in the room, and I then walked around and called them all my servants and stuff.
I just loved it. And their faces.
Well, some people who knew who was in the video, they're like, it's actually funnier that these people that, most people would love to just be around, and I'm calling them fucking servants.
Yeah.
But that was the best one. That was a lot of fun. That was, because I didn't really do many videos before that. I just posted that one up, and it just started getting shared like crazy, and that was how it all began.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant. I loved it. I absolutely love it. So I'd love you to sort of like, I mean, that's part of your story. If you could explain to us how you began, because actually you were born in the UK, is that right? And
I was actually born in California. So I was born, and then
in the UK.
So my dad is from Liverpool,
Right.
and my mum is from California. And so I was born in California, and then I grew up in both. So both my parents live in California. They're still together. They have been. I realize a lot of people think my parents are divorced based on that. They're not. We'd go over for summers and stuff to London when I was younger, and then I used to, or actually not to London, we'd go up to the north. But I actually moved to England by myself for part of high school. I went to a tennis academy in London.
Oh, cool.
And so the story I think you're referring to is when I got mugged.
That's right. Yeah. You were saying, and they took your phone and so on. If you could explain that story to people, because for me, actually, it really connected. It really, because when I used to work at the BBC in London, a similar thing happened to me, but it wasn't quite as, I kind of got away with it, basically. I jumped on a bus, and these idiots, it didn't actually get fully mugged, but they tried to. And cut long story short, I realised then that, did I really want to be at the BBC where I was working? Was it for me? And I ended up sort of like looking at other options at that point. I didn't leave straight away, but eventually I did. But there was a pivotal point, which was, this is what I'm talking about. There was a pivotal point. That was something that you mentioned was pretty much of a pivotal point for you. The big pivotal point was when my son was born healthy, then through negligence made blind, deaf, with spastic cerebral palsy, lost everything but taste. So that was a big shock to me, where my life changed. And I think there's a pattern here with a lot of people that strive to do well in their lives, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call them. There's something happens where it's just like, it's either, sink or swim kind of moment. But yeah, I'd love to hear about your.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, what happened to me was I was walking down a street in London. I actually went down to the train station, and there were these 5 guys down there who weren't particularly friendly looking, and I was alone down there, and so I thought, okay, I need to go out. So I went up the stairs, they followed, and then 3 of them stayed on the other side of the street, 2 crossed, they cornered me, and they said, has he got any eats, bruv? And I said, no, I don't have any. Has he got any eats, bruv? I said, I don't have any food. He said, not food, bruv. Has he got any money? And I said, no. And they said, has he got any money, bruv? And I said, no. And then that was when, so what actually happened is the guy took out the knife, he knocked it onto the sign next to him, and then just sort of, and then held it. And then I gave him the money, and then said, give us your mobile. I said, no. They said, give us your mobile. I said, no. And then they said again, I gave him my phone, which was a shit phone anyway. And then they walked away, and I actually said to them, I said, hey, wait, can I get a number out of that really quickly? And like the most insane thing they had ever heard. They looked at me like I was like I just discovered dinosaurs or something. Like, it was crazy. And then the adrenaline, I went into the corner store basically right there and told them what happened. And then the adrenaline all dropped, and I started crying. But what happens in those moments that people don't understand when you're mugged like that is, you're not, you're not a person. You're a resource to them. You're just, you're just meat wrapped in skin and bone, and they don't care about you or anything about you. And so, but the thing is there are people that get mugged who don't have as profound or have such a big experience. But when you're 15 years old and you haven't formed your identity, it becomes a very big thing. And that feeling, I'll never forget the feeling of standing there and going, the lack of power and control, because you are a slave in those moments. You are completely a slave. And you don't want to feel it ever again, and you don't want anybody else to feel it again. So I became obsessed with martial arts, and specifically like actual real violence training. And then it got to the point where all I thought I was going to do with my life was join the military, go into special forces, and basically kill bad people. And then I wanted to go into whether it was CIA because I can also go in either branch of England or the US. Yes. And so that was really all I wanted to do with my life, because I became completely obsessed with never having that happen again, and basically becoming unkillable, which is not realistic anyway, because no matter what, there are so many variables in life you can't control. So basically, I became so obsessed with control to the degree that I learned how to control people's actions through words, that I could write on a page and have them pull out a wallet or do specific actions just based on things I had written on a computer. So that was a hugely defining moment. It didn't lead me to the path I thought it would. I definitely thought that I would have been in the military, or at least done something in the realm of violence. But it was really all about freedom and allowing other people freedom as well, which, it's been a much different path to doing that than I ever thought. But with my primary business now, we basically give people freedom from all of the shit that's messing up their life or holding them back or whatever it is, which is actually, overall impacts a lot more people, because especially we work with, like, my business partner's a therapist and works with an executive coach, works with, CEOs and chairmen of literally, like, some of them like Fortune 10 companies. So when you change the people at the top of those institutions, a lot of people can potentially actually change in a very real way. And ironically, through all of this obsession with, control, ended up learning that there's very, very little that we control, and learning how to completely surrender to the reality that, we aren't in control of very much at all.
Yeah.
And that's the only control you can really have, is your ability to surrender to your lack of control.
Yeah.
So that was sort of my defining moment in my life. And it led me to a lot of things, a lot of training, and a lot of, development of who I am as a person. And had that not happened, I have no idea who I'd be or how I'd be. So I'm extremely grateful for that experience, but it's typically those traumatic events that do shape us. And you just hope that it shapes you in the right way, because in those moments you have a choice to become a victim or to decide that you will never be a victim. And so I thankfully chose the latter, but a lot of people choose to be victims. And I don't say that lightly, but, to shame people who have a victim mentality, but whatever it was.
I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. It's true. And there was a big area, a point in my life where I felt like, why me? And then like you say, there's a point of no return when you kind of realize actually, why not me? Basically, why shouldn't I have crap come my way? You know what I mean? It's just what makes me special, kind of thing. So I don't know. For me, I've had a lot of. So I'm just inviting some friends on this. I've had a lot of people in my life that are, they've got that limited belief and that I've had it myself, and I get it still even now. And the reality is, it's so easy to have it when you've been knocked down like that. You know what I mean? In my opinion, in a way. And the way I see it is, you've got to. No one else can actually bring you up. You've got to do it yourself. No matter how much you want the support when things are really difficult, you've just literally just got to just swim against the tide and really just fight to be on top. And that's pretty much
Well, and it's interesting. Everybody's got such a different reaction to it. For me, that was never even a thought. Like, I remember at that age, I never even thought, well, maybe I need help or I need it. It was like, no, I'm going to be completely self-sufficient, which in turn creates its own issues, because that's your, I mean, within the work we do, like, that's your teenager becomes needless. Like, I became needless to the degree of, I need no one, and that's not actually a healthy way to live your life. You need to be aware of your needs and wants and be able to make them known. Yeah. But there are advantages that come from that. Those extremes do create, new realities that can be positive, but, ultimately there are typically going to be some stuff that needs to be dealt with as well, like on the trauma level. But yeah, I mean, that was sort of my start into, I mean, I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I literally actually, so I didn't know that. I thought, I knew when I was younger that I was either going to work for the government or for myself. Yeah. There's no other option. So I actually thought I'd work for the government and then eventually myself after I did the stuff that I wanted to do. If I didn't die. So. Yeah.
Well, I think it's amazing. And I mean, your story and everything you've gone through is, brilliant, because you're obviously doing really, really well now. I mean, would you like to share? Well, I mean, copywriting for me is quite alien. Do you know what I mean? Because to me it's just like, you do Facebook and you do a post, you do an ad, or you set up a campaign, or you build a membership and you just write the copy and you try and make it word, but there's so much more to all this, and that's what makes something successful or not. And so for me, I am actually, I'm dyslexic, but still managed to write a book. But it was quite decent. It got successful, got a bestseller internationally. But the point is, I mean, that was about my son. So I guess when you got the passion, you can write it, and it's called My Little Spartan. And it's about finding the strength within.
That's awesome. I have a deep obsession with Sparta. Actually, I have. I guess not the second to last tattoos I got are of the tattoos that are on, the words that are on Leonidas's statue when Xerxes said,
love it.
Give us your weapons. He said, come and take them. So I have Molon Lave on my Achilles, tattooed on my Achilles. After I'd left my job, I said, I'm never going to be employed again. If somebody wants to take my freedom, they're going to have to take it. So I'm a fan of Sparta. I've done a lot of research and a lot of reading around the Spartans, so I love that title.
I'll send you his book. He's only 6 years old, and he really is truly a warrior to me. I mean, from being born healthy, losing, pretty much everything, and he fights on, and he really is amazing. It's why I went into the whole funnels and marketing side of things, but also property, because I went into it as a property investor as well. And that's the reason why I went into it. And it's been scary. I've been taking certain risks in life and doing it. It's very difficult doing these things on your own. But like you say, I didn't think about it either. But I did have a why me at one point, especially in the hospital when son's just born healthy, and then before you know it, back in there for months, and you come back, and then there's like a package. There you go, there's your son back, and then you go and get on with your life, and there's no support there. There was literally, as much as I love the NHS, didn't feel like there was any support, because, it took 2 years, almost 2 years to get proper counselling support. It's just crazy. But, these things, at that point, your mind's not in the right frame of mind to be thinking of business and stuff like that. You can't, all you want to do is get some sleep, and even today, the average amount of sleep we get is about 4 or 5 hours a night. But I don't, why me now? Now that's what it is. That is, I joke, I always say, Trump always says he only gets 4 hours sleep and it hasn't affected his mindset, his brain. So there are people out there that are
it does. Humans need 7 to 9 hours. It's just how
they do. But if you've got no choice, you've got to crack on. You can't sit there and complain. Obviously, there'll be days when he's really great and we'll get a bit more. But we've just got to crack on. So
yeah, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that story. I can't imagine that. My dad's like my best friend, so I can't even imagine how he would have dealt with something like that, it would have been.
Yeah, it's been very difficult, very difficult. But I mean, that was your story about you. So it's not about me. This is about you. And you know, where did you start? Like, when did you start thinking? I mean, I know you mentioned the story when you got mugged, but when did that great big hit? Was it the video series? In, you know, because you weren't doing copy then. That was just a video. So what made you think? What got you into the writing? Exactly.
Oh, so I was already. So I mean, I started writing. I think I wrote my first book. Well, and the only actual book I suppose I wrote, but the first course or the first book I wrote was about how to pick up women. Actually, when I was yeah, so I wrote that when I was 20. I was a junior in college, and then I wrote. I barely sold. I didn't sell much of it because the book itself, the quality of the book doesn't matter if it doesn't sell and if you don't have good copy. So then my senior year of college started selling something called the Tao of Badass. So I wrote this pre-sale page, didn't even know it was called that, didn't even know I was writing copy. And then we bought some ads and people started buying a bit of that. So I made a couple of grand, but it was like, I remember that first sale, I through my apartment like a crazy person screaming, just so excited because it was $113.89 or 84 cents something. And then I remember I went to class like the next day. I took a final and I came out of the final and it was $113. And I was like, I just got paid to take a test. Oh my God. And my friend ran the ads. And so I just I leaned towards the writing side, and I wasn't actually a writer in college at all. I quit the English classes I was in because I took an English class my freshman year about superheroes because I wanted to write a paper on Batman because I was obsessed with Batman. And so that was the only B I got. And I was so pissed off that I was like, fuck that. I'm not going to take a test because there was one A given in the class and the teacher was all, it's all subjective. And so I was like, it's bullshit. So I actually sort of actively went away from writing. And then, so after college, I ended up, that was, the thing that I made a decision was everybody was trying to make money online and they're trying to build a website. They're trying to, write copy, create a product, run traffic, do customer service, all this bullshit. And I was like, everybody's broke. And so I was like, I'm going to get good at one thing. I decided it was going to be copy. So I did Copy Hour, which is Derek Johansson, who's been a business partner of mine now, his product. And I would hand copy a sales letter every day for an hour. And that was my sort of dictator of whether or not I was successful for the day. It wasn't based on the results. It was, did I do the practice? Yeah. And so I ended up then working with a guy named Mike Colello. We had in the credit space, and we had a list of 1.2 million people, an email list. And I wrote all the copy, and then I wrote the VSLs and stuff. And so we ended up, I just split tested the shit out of everything, and I learned a ton. I deconstructed all the principles. And then after working, and so like there are so many people, I was very good enough at email to start a course then, but I never wanted to be the guy who only made money teaching people how to make money. So I waited until we had sold, a few $1 million worth of products before I did my email course. And I actually made it because when I left him, I wanted to make sure that that he could find somebody to replace me. And so that's when I launched my first, the 80/20 email copy course. That's been like 4 years, maybe something like that. I don't know. And then I worked with a company called Crisis Education. We had a product called the 4-Foot Farm that was a really big offer. And then we had this perfect water purifier. So we had water pitches. And then I was the copywriter. I mean, it was me and the owner. And then, there was the team around us. But we went from like 9 million that year to like 18 million the next year. And we had put 15 million just in rebuilds scheduled next year. And so I was basically running all the marketing, but I ended up becoming the face of the company. So I was doing videos where I would drink out of toilets, and that's when I started jumping on camera because we didn't have anybody to go on camera, and I was just like, I'll do it. And they were like, okay. And I really enjoyed it. And so I made videos there, and that was the first video that video went to like 500,000 views in like 2 days from drinking toilet water. And so that sold us a lot of that. And that got a lot more views over time. But that video was actually kind of the birth of a lot of things for me. It's how I met one of my mentors, Ron Lynch, who has sold billions of dollars through brilliant. And so he actually called me and was like, I remember being on the phone with him. I was like, a few years ago. I'm like, 25, and this guy who sold OxyClean and fucking Foreman grills and GoPro and all this stuff is talking to me on the phone, and he was like, "I loved your ad. That was brilliant." Da, da, da. And I was like, "This is crazy." So that was kind of my start, and how I made my name was in that, because we had a really big offer in the health space. So a lot of we had a ton of affiliates. I mean, people like, like the Mike Gearys and people that were very successful and well known in that space. And so I had a lot of credibility. And when I left there, I doubled or tripled my income right when I left. I had one client who I made the same amount that I made in the year before in a month. And then just had multiple businesses, had started my own water filter company. I sold that last year, and then have basically been working on, I do some freelancing still, because it's very good cash if I want to do it. It's really good. Like, I get paid quite a lot to do it.
The numbers are like, it's really hard for a lot of people to get their head around, someone writing some copy and getting paid, crazy amounts. We're talking, double-digit thousands, literally sometimes even triple-digit.
So typically, it's 20 grand to 25 grand up front, and then another 15 to 60 grand on the back end. So it's like, that's the way I structure my contracts. And so that is where it's like, sometimes I will do stuff because it's like literally for a few hours of work, I rewrite a lead or a sales letter, and I can make that much. But it's all about, for me, building assets long term. And so that's great cash flow to buy traffic for other businesses and stuff. But I basically have the two primary business now is teaching copy. And then the main I'm focused on is the business with my business partner, Brent, called Lionheart. We do workshops. We do 3-day workshops, helping people uncover and resolve the hidden blocks that are holding them back. And so, and the results are just unbelievable, and the testimonials are crazy. And so Brent basically worked with people individually, and it's 45 grand a year. And I worked with him personally, and it just radically changed my life. And we decided to do the first workshop in April, and now that business has been growing. And we just actually launched a whole thing around money, specifically on the emotional blocks people have around money. And then I teach a system on how to basically work less and make more, which is basically the reason why I've only worked 2 or 3 hours a day for most of my life. And I thought the way that I set up my schedule was normal, and I found out that it's in fact not normal. So yeah, that's sort of where we're at now. We just built out this money DNA quiz. We're actually starting to run traffic to it today, which I'm excited. Okay. I'm super excited. It's this like super legit quiz that legitimately like uncovers your biggest money block, and then
I'll probably have to take it.
Yeah, everybody's got shit. That's the thing, is people are like, well, everybody has shit around money. We're talking about people who have $100 million in the bank. We're talking about people who only make $1,000 a month, whatever it is. Like, everybody's got emotional things around money based on, just like you have a physical DNA that your parents gave you, you have a money DNA based on what your parents said.
Yeah, that's crazy.
What your teachers have said and modeled for you. So we have this quiz, and it's questions like, did your parents talk about money in front of you? Did you get paid to do chores? Were you, did you grow up upper class, middle class, lower class? Like, all these different questions that genuinely still have an effect on you. Did your parents scold you for leaving the lights on or the water running? And so it's very real.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Sorry, I was going to say, it's true. All these things that you take for granted as you're growing up, and like you say, I mean, it's very easy to forget those little moments. But as you'll read them, saying them, I was thinking, I do remember them saying, make sure you switch the lights off, because my parents came over with nothing, literally, and they carved a career, and those moments that we take for granted now, like switching the lights off, are exactly what are ingrained.
And people don't really if you got paid to do chores, that alone is a very big, like, people are like, well, what does that mean? And it's, well, what it means is that it was ingrained in you from childhood that you had to, in order to get money, do things that you didn't want to do. And then you look at literally the population, 80% of the population doesn't enjoy what they do for a living. And basically people have been conditioned to believe that you just have to do things you don't want to do in order to get money, which means to keep on doing things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it also ingrains that you have to work hard for money, which there are times, when you can work hard, but people think that they don't deserve money if they didn't work hard for it and things like that. And I didn't get paid to do chores. I didn't have to do chores. And there's a lot of parallels in my life of stories now that I've looked back on about money specifically, where it's like, and it's been the most interesting thing, I think, like going into, because we do like the deeper emotional work and the workshops and stuff, but bringing people in on the realization that they have these issues around money is fascinating. Looking at everybody's stories, you hear these stories. Oh, my friend worked, on a farm from age 12. And his dad never told him how to do anything. And it was like backbreaking, brutal work. And so he literally, and he's in a like Lionheart Pride group, which is like a $25,000 a year group. And he said, he was like, he couldn't believe it. He's like, holy shit. He's like, yeah, I don't feel like if I didn't work hard for the money, I don't feel like I deserve it and I don't want it. And he's become very successful despite that. And so he's like, I can't even imagine what's going to happen now that he's dealt with that block. And then for me, it's like, I look back, and when I was 12 years old, I started stringing tennis rackets, and I'd make $25 a racket. And it would take most people 30 minutes. I got down, I could string a racket in 16 minutes, but realistically be like, I could get 2 done in an hour. And that's $50 an hour at 12 years old. And I realized that money and time weren't related, because my friends were all working $5 to, go mow a lawn or some shit. And so literally I look at my life now, and as a copywriter, even when I do freelance, I make more than most other freelancers and I work much less. It's not about me making more. I'm not saying I'm better than them or anything like that.
No, I hear you, yeah.
The way I structure my contracts, it's been literally ingrained in me that I do not have to work hard for money, that I can work in a different way. And it's so crazy to look back and like, holy shit, yeah, that was modeled for me when I was 12 years old, and that's still affecting me in my life now.
Yeah. No, I can totally understand that, and it's true. A lot of people don't realize how these, certain situations in their past, or certain words and certain, we've been slowly conditioned in a certain way. A guy, actually, a friend of mine wrote a book called Money, Rob Moore, and he his book was pretty successful, and it does touch on some of those things, and it's pretty crazy, because we always feel guilt with money as well. You touched on it with your dad saying that.
Not always. You do.
Sorry?
That's
not always, of course.
But that's obviously that's a big thing that's happening for you. And I'm slowly pulling out of that. But I'm not going to lie and say I don't, because the truth is with me is I still find it very, very difficult. And I give personally. I give a lot, and even though I've given a load, I'll be like, I'd still feel a bit awkward on actually accepting payment. I mean, that's not an open thing for people to, get free stuff. But the point is, it's still a little bit of a blocker there in my mind. So I know there's still a long way for me to go. And to the point that what I'm doing now is I've restructured my pricing. I'm putting my things up, because at the end of the day, sometimes when you give, and you'll know this, when you give away a lot, people don't appreciate it as well. And that's... Yeah, if you give away, people are dogs. They get conditioned. Just like dogs, we're all conditioned. So if you give them a bunch of shit for free all the time, they're going to expect that. But I would say that your blog's actually pretty big. I'm not saying that I don't have any guilt. I've not had much guilt around money, but I've had guilt around... I used to have a ton of guilt around entrepreneurship. Whenever I wasn't working, I felt like... Or if I wasn't reading, or I wasn't doing something, or listening to a podcast, or growing, I felt like I was dying, or like I was doing something wrong, and I felt horribly guilty at the time, which I don't get that anymore at all. Now, one of my favorite things in the world is to do nothing, which I never used to do. And so when you say that, like, that's pretty much what we do, is like, you have that block around guilt, so we give you a way to actually, because you just trying to think out or think away a block isn't going to work. You can't just go, well, just don't feel guilty. Yeah, because that's what people will tell you. We'll just stop feeling guilty about it. You deserve it. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. You have to go back to the root of where the issue started. So whether it was as a child or as a teenager, it happened at one of those points where your parents basically told you and modeled for you that in some way you didn't deserve money. And so, like, that's one of our questions we ask is, do you have trouble raising your prices? Because I used to get on to people, I'm like, I don't get it. Just raise your price, like, charge more. And they're like, and they'd be like, yeah, I know. And they wouldn't do it. And it's because something internally doesn't agree with what they know they should do, because they don't actually believe it. And their child, their team does not believe it. Even if their adult can logically say, yes, I should just charge more.
And yet you're spot on. And I've been told by many people, quite, I've got a couple of different mentors as well, and they say the same. And it's like, it's not even, should be no even guilt there, because the amount I give is easily worth it, because there's people giving less and they're charging a bomb. So it's almost like, what the hell, So I totally relate to that.
But again, there's that, like, there's the comfort in, some people have an easy time buying gifts for other people, but not for themselves.
Yeah,
right?
I'm exactly that. I do that all the time.
So which again is another indicator of, like, that's not actually, that's something that's been modeled for you and that you've sort of taken on as a belief as well. If I give, people should just want to give me. But then actually when they do, you're like, well, I don't actually feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
There's an incredible...
I'm in therapy, for goodness sake. You're spot on.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this now with Brent for a while, and it's, I've had all sorts of my own issues, which I've never done working on them. I'm still working through my own blocks and things like that. But there's an incredible document. I don't know if it's a documentary or what you want to call it, but Darren Brown, because you're English.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
A lot of Americans don't know Darren Brown. Darren Brown is maybe the most interesting person in the world to me.
He's brilliant.
I actually just had a new Netflix special come out, and it's called Sacrifice. And it's
I have heard of it and seen it, but I've not.
I watched it last night, and I cried a bit at the end. Like, it's incredible. Okay. And then, but there's one called The Secret of Luck, and I've cried almost every time I've watched it. And I'm not like it's not like a common experience necessarily for me to like cry watching something. And it's the ending is incredible, but it goes through the beliefs around luck, and there's actually some really interesting money stuff in there. There's this quote from this guy, and he creates this belief that there's this lucky dog statue within this little town called Todmorden, and so they create this belief, and I won't give it away, but what's crazy is they follow some people who believe they're lucky, some people who don't believe they're lucky, and this one guy, he ends up going to pet the dog when his wife's sick. She starts to feel better, and then he pets it again, and he says he got an unexpected bill from his accountant for £384. And then that week, he made £400, which is the most he had ever made in his life. And he said so much that I almost to the point where I wasn't comfortable with it. And that's an incredible indicator that I can tell you about that person, is he does not feel comfortable receiving much money, which means he will never make more than £400 in a week, because it literally is already making him uncomfortable. And so it's really interesting to watch something like that happen. And then there's the guy who basically has terrible luck, and they go through these things, and without giving it away, they literally lay a £50 note on the ground in front of him where he's walking, and he walks right past it. And so this is what, like, I have this money magnet meditation thing that I teach, which sounds super cheesy and stuff. And I tell people, I'm like, I don't know how it works. I just know that it works. And the craziest shit happens. I'm getting emails for the past 2 weeks. I've been getting all these emails of these crazy things happening to people with money. I got an email today from a guy who lives in Denmark who said, I just received, man, I could fucking pull it up. It was fascinating. And he says, I don't know how this works, and it sounds cheesy, but he goes, I've been noticing something strange. I've gotten random money into my account. Today I received $174.50 from my broadband provider in Denmark because I paid too much. I didn't even know I paid too much. In this month alone, I've received $800 worth of free money from unexpected sources, which again, it sounds so crazy, but he's just getting random. He told me $395 came from this, $194 from a random PayPal. It's all this like, and again, this sounds super cheesy, but it's like when you can shift your beliefs internally about money, it's not the sort of stuff that starts coming in and what happens, because they don't realize that we are completely lost. So it's wild.
I mean, I do believe in all that sort of stuff. It's just when you're in the shit, it's hard to actually focus on that and actually, that's what I find. But I know it's important not to even put that that I just did, so that's also part of it, and so it really is a tricky situation to claw yourself out, but I'm getting there. And, like I said, I'm a man of integrity. I could bullshit you and bullshit everyone watching and say, yeah, everything's all perfect.
I appreciate you sharing that. I mean,
but it's the truth. The truth is I'm still growing, still learning. And, that there are blockers there still, and you know, a lot of people come up to me and say, Mike, you know, you're doing so well, you know, you looked up to and all this kind of thing, and I get almost ashamed hearing it, you know, and the reality is that I've got to sort of like understand that you know, there's no shame in growth. And I'm quite proud of what, and I actually did a video before this about you know, the risks that we take in life and things that we do. And actually, with the stuff I'm juggling, I'm really proud of what I managed to do. You know, I've done very well with what you know, the stuff I've been having to juggle, and I'm starting to turn. In the last year, I've really started to turn, and it's, you know, it's a slow, because this is a lifetime of like habit. You know, it's a habitual negativity almost. It's not pure negativity. It's just a lot of bad luck. You know, and yet I know that there is actually a lot of good luck. It depends how you see it. You know, my son's not dead. You know, he's alive. You know, and some people might say, you know, well, he might be better off dead. And as deep as that sounds and horrible, because you got not much of a life. But F you to them people, because my son is amazing. He keeps me alive. He inspires me, like I call him my little Spartan, like I said. And you know, he really is an amazing child. He's really taught us all massive lessons. He really is brilliant. And so for me, that's helped me in my growth. And I wouldn't have never done what I've, you know, I would probably be on the dole, you know, literally drinking, addicted to something, you know, alcohol or whatever it may be, drowning my sorrows, if I did not see the fight that my son has within him. He really is unbelievable and a beautiful child and really an amazing personality. I know he's locked in. I know he can't, you know, express a lot compared to other people, but, you know, he speaks volumes to me with just his eyes. You know, he really does. And people don't understand that. So when I get drawn down into my own crap, my own depression and all that sort of stuff, the first thing that I think of, I mean, I think I might even have a book. Yeah, here we go. It's a little plug. Here we go. Here's my book, My Little Spartan. And it says on there, embrace the struggle to find your strength. It's about unleash your inner Spartan. And I think the quote on there says, no matter how hard the struggle is, we all hold it inner strength, one I call the Spartan within. And that's what I believe. I truly believe we all got an inner strength, no matter how much shit goes on. So I know my strength is overpowering this negativity of not being able to sort of like fully, you know, charge my full services and so on. But I'm getting past that, you know, I mean, I'm getting past that because I know what other people charge. And it's, you know, I was going to say it's a joke, and it's not a joke. It's actually, that's correct. I'm the joke when I don't actually price right. And that's the reality, you know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
yeah,
I'm not.
To say something.
Yeah, I'm not trying to plug my own stuff. I just, you know,
no,
just
I want you to plug. That's what I'm, mate.
Yeah.
I'm here. The reason why I connected with you is I think it's brilliant what you do, and you know, obviously, plug away. Seriously.
Well, and that's, yeah. I mean, and Brent is the one who really does, you know, the incredible work. But what you're talking about too is like, this is what a lot of people go through who are working on themselves. It's a lot of slow, painful growth, or they get these, you know, the Tony Robbins motivational stuff, and they're like, you know, just rewiring how you think, which actually doesn't work because your thoughts are not the cause of your pain. It's actually, well, your thoughts do create your emotions, but they're deeper than that. It's not just, you can't just outthink your problems, and you have to go back to where they came from. You have to go to the root, just like Western medicine basically wants to put a Band-Aid or do surgery on anything. You actually need to go to the cause of what's going on and where it happened and when it happened and things like that. And so I would say with what you're going through, you know, you can continue on that path, or you can actually get rid of the blocks, and getting rid of blocks could take a day or two as opposed to the next year, you know, years. And I know it sounds crazy to be able to get rid of a block that's been going on for years, but
no, I believe it. I believe it.
We see it happen over and I've had it happen countless times in my life since working with Brent.
Yeah, I mean, people have many blocks, don't they? Different forms. You know, one could be the value that they place on themselves. Another one could be, you know, health, things, or I can't do it. Another one could be, you know, I don't get enough sleep like me. But actually, there are moments when I do get good sleep. So why don't I focus on those points? You know, why do I have to focus
But that's the thing. So but that's a trick of your mind trying to say, well, why don't I focus on the good? Well, life is not all good. It's not.
No, it's not. You're right.
Positive. It's not, you know, and so people try and just focus on that, but you actually, the world is, your reality is your reality. Some stuff just sucks, and that's okay. It's the goal of life isn't to be happy all the time, but you can feel good even while you're feeling pain and while you're feeling anger and things like that. Every emotion has a gift, and this plane, this existence is very much based on growth. And you know, we are able to enjoy and experience life well, even through difficult circumstances. But it's this whole bullshit of trying to think everything. And I was this way. I was totally this way. Oh, everything's great. Think about the positive of that. Think about and yes, there are upsides. Everything in life is a double-edged sword. It's all a duality. Nothing exists as an absolute. Nothing is all good or all bad. Just like having great parents, so being very good at things growing up can make you lazy, because everything came naturally. And so when something gets hard, you quit, or you give up, you know? And so it's like everything exists as a double-edged sword, just like, and your situation is about as hard as it gets, in my opinion, having, you know, a child that you're completely out of the control of what's happened, and having to deal with that. But again, like you said, there's all sorts of things that, and I would recommend a book called The Surrender Experiment, which I've read multiple times over the last year.
Read a lot of books, but not heard of that one, actually.
That one's one of the best books, The Surrender Experiment. He also wrote, the same guy wrote a book called The Untethered Soul, which is more popular, but I like The Surrender Experiment. It's very clear. It's literally continuing to let go, and he has some crazy stuff happen in his life. And he's also one of the few, whether it's, you know, call him self-help people, who's actually built a very successful multi-$100 million company while practicing all of his spiritual practices. Because everybody else, it's like, oh yeah, I went and lived on a mountain and now I feel this. It's like, cool, that's not realistic. I have kids, or I have a business, or I have these things. And so the Surrender Experiment, I think you'll in particular get a lot out of, because of what you're going through. Which is, you know, I would never wish that on anyone, and I can't even imagine, you know, having that happen.
It's horrible. I'm not going to lie, it's absolutely horrible. I had a bit of a smirk on my face because a friend just messaged me, and he was saying, I can't believe you're doing a live when Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels, is doing some telethon thing that he's like doing a long calling live video thing on Facebook. Most of my friends are into that. But yeah, I don't care.
Fucking cares.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But you know, it has been an absolute nightmare. I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, there's been some amazing breakthroughs. You know, I'll give you an example. My son was born healthy, made blind, deaf, with spastic cerebral palsy. We ended up doing a cochlear implant surgery. It was traumatic. It didn't go perfectly well. They were going to do bilateral, and they ended up just doing one. Took hours. Then we ended up doing another one, and now he hears kind of like robotically with these implants on his head. So he hears something now. The other one was he was declared blind. We looked at a specialist in America called Christine Roman, and they use a tungsten torch therapy in the night. And basically, me and my wife, we didn't have a carers at the beginning when all this was going on. And even now, we haven't got full-time carers, like, you know, throughout the whole week. It's just like there's always gaps, you know. But we did this tungsten torch. So in the night, when everyone was sleeping, we would put the torch on, watch his pupils shrink. Although he was blind, he wouldn't flinch, which is just weird to see. And he'd switch it off, and they'll just naturally grow. And it's just almost like massaging the pupil. And it basically apparently reconnects the nerves to the eyes, because his condition is called kernicterus, which is brain damage through severe jaundice, which wasn't controlled when it was sawn and all this kind of thing. And long story short, his eyes are perfect, but the connections from the brain damage to the eyes are not.
Right.
And now, not too long ago, they did experiments on him, and they reckon he can see. But it's how he can communicate that to us. And we truly believe those kind of things. He was also tube fed, and we tried with a bottle, wasn't working, but we just like kept on trying, and just like pushed the bottle in his mouth, teeted it, a bit of a taste, just endless, believe me, endless. sort of like training almost. And now he can suck from the bottle. And yeah, so it's been a hard journey, but you know, with a lot of, you know, and my wife is amazing. She's gone through cancer. My daughter as well, born after, had a severe, it's a rare condition called Joubert syndrome, and exactly, she's very well with it though. So I don't even, in my mind, I don't even think she's disabled, but I know the consequences of these things, you know, and it's. Apparently apparently it's a genetic mutation, and some experts, if you look into it, you either got it in your family or you haven't, or you've got the same genes and you haven't, but it can happen through a genetic mutation, and that can happen from sheer stress apparently. When obviously she was in sheer stress. So, you know, one thing borns another, you know, which is quite scary. We don't know, we'll never find out the facts. These things happen, and she's an amazing child, and you know, she has her moments of like, you know, it's 0 to 100 in temperament, you know what I mean, but she's amazing. So, you know, you got the spectrum of severe disability physically, and you've got the other aspect of like, you know, the sort of your sort of like snappy can be, but I don't, like I said, I genuinely don't see her as disabled. And I've got another daughter who's amazing, Ellie, perfectly healthy, bless her, who's had to deal with a lot of it. And actually she wrote in that book a little bit. She did a little, and she's only like, she wrote when she was about 8. She's 9 now, but you know, she just wrote these little cool poems and little messages and all this kind of thing of her life. But yeah, you're right. You know, these things are here to test us, absolutely, and it is how we think and how we feel, and it is no problem. There shouldn't be a problem in us. You know, you shouldn't feel guilt in feeling certain ways. You're absolutely right. But I know I've got a lot to learn, so I'm gonna have to look up you're gonna have to throw me, shoot everyone, shoot me a link and I'll throw it in the comments. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends, connections, unfortunately, are like funnel builders and property investors and stuff like that. So what I'll do is I'll throw it in the link, and on the replay they can all check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think
the money one, if just taking the quiz, the money, it's at moneydnaquiz.com. But yeah, man, I can't even, what you've gone through is,
I'm going to write it now.
Yeah, that's moneydnaquiz.com for that one. And then there'll be links and stuff to the workshops in there. But that's it. You can go to Lionheart or thelionheartworkshop.com as well.
Okay.
Read my email copy and such, but yeah.
Cool, man. Here we go. Just write it here. There you go. moneydnaquiz.com. Just making sure it's correct. Cool. So yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing what you've done and what you've achieved. I think it's pretty damn, you know, impressive. It's not easy for people to just do this and suddenly just get there and actually start, you know, smashing their goals and everything like that, and you just seem to have just gone in your stride and just done it. And like I said, I love what you do. I know the video side is not really fully what you do, but
it's fun. I love that. I mean,
awesome.
Making videos like that are incredibly fun for me, and that's what a lot of this stuff's about. Is about fun. It's not just about making money or business.
Okay.
It's about,
I'd love to ask you what makes what you think makes obviously a great copywriter, but what do you think is the key thing to, you know, high converting copywriting? What would you say? Is it the story? Is it the headline? Is it the close at the end? Is it the call to action? You know, for instance, what would you call it?
I mean, so I would say above all things is empathy and understanding that you're writing to another person who's got problems or who wants, you know, certain things in their life. And then, I mean, that's why, so like after working with Brent and getting access to my emotions, which I didn't really have much access to at all before, I became significantly better at copy without writing anymore, because I was able to connect with myself and in turn with others. So empathy is at the core of all of it. But what it comes down to as far as the copy itself is the sequence. The sequence is the most important part. So the order that you put the structure of the sales letter. So whether it's, you know, your lead is always going to be the most important part. So the first part of your sales letter, the first minute to 5 minutes of it, the minute to 2 or 3 minutes of the video, and then the first, you know, 200 to 600 words of the sales letter. So for the most part, when I work with clients, I just change that and we'll get massive results. I've had, actually with one of Mike Geary's funnels, we got rid of the first sentence said, "Hi, I'm Mike Geary with this," and we got rid of that and we got a 20% lift, on a, a long running funnel. So that's it. But I would say stories are the way that I do a lot of my stuff nowadays. And I think that if you've got a good story, then you always lead with the story. Paris Lampropoulos, he's a great copywriter and a friend of mine. He said, if he has a story lead, he always uses it, because if there's a great story, it's how humans communicate. It's how we pass down language. It's how we pass down things before the written word. Stories are how we remember things. The reason the Bible's more popular than Buddhism is because the Bible tells stories. It's got better marketers. It's very similar message. One's a how-to and one's the story version of it. And if you look on Amazon, guess what sells better? Fiction. Fictional. I'm not calling out religious things, saying the Bible's fiction. I'm saying that fiction is typically story driven and how-to books are typically not. And the more story driven something is, the more likely people are to read it and remember it and actually do things. And in a sales letter, your goal is to make people feel as much as possible, take them through a range of emotions and get them to feel enough that they feel compelled to buy whatever it is. And doing that, you want to sell people what they want and give them what they need. So that's part of even what we do with the money stuff, is we sell the Lionheart Money Matrix and give people what they want, which is a way to bring more money into their life. And then once they've done that, they realize, oh man, I could apply this to my relationships, to my weight, to my health, to my, relationship to my parents, whatever it is, and then get them into the deeper work. But we start with what they want, which is more money. And then what they need is deeper work.
I bet you that's brilliant information. Great nuggets there. I think personally, I think you're spot on. When I was just thinking as you're saying all these things and the sort of things funnels that I've even, I've never even thought were funnels back a few years ago that you kind of find yourself falling into, and it was always, they're following those routes pretty much, those steps, and yeah, you're pretty spot on. I mean, I've always been a little bit kind of like to use, because I actually get my work through word of mouth. I don't actually promote my work, and although I do Facebook ads and get results for other people, I haven't done it for myself, which it's kind of nice, but then it's stupid as well. But at the minute,
that's a block around doing. A lot of us will do work on other people's stuff that we wouldn't do on our own, and it's because for some reason we don't feel we deserve it.
Yeah, which is really strange, because I've created some really amazing results for people, and I'm not saying that for big-headedness, but like I've got people that are mentors, and they've said to me, you just gotta start. You don't want to struggle me, like just put your prices up and just get yourself out.
I did that for a long time, as I didn't run ads. I would just keep creating new products and stuff for my tiny list, and then it was like, well, why don't I just run ads and build a bigger list, and then I'll make significantly more. And I knew that for a while, but it takes getting rid of blocks in order to do that stuff sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I know I've still got blocks there, without doubt. There's definitely stuff there going on, and I think it's very easy. I've been going at the minute through doing the property journey, so the real estate journey, and going through a refinance, which is just taking forever. It's just killing me. It's really nerve-wracking when you go through refinance. Lots of changes in the market in the UK and all this kind of stuff, and so my mind's been on that whilst I've got other stuff going on, and I want to create my own stuff and sort my own stuff out, and it's just like, and I came to a point where, and I put it in a live before this, about an hour or two before we went live, and I said, pretty much I fucking had enough of myself, pretty much, in the sense that I'm going to actually say I'm pretty amazing of what I managed to do and what I've created in the time, and lack of sleep, and writing a book, and it being pretty successful, and obviously juggling other people's funnels and doing their bloody doing real estate, and going from zero real estate to having a small portfolio, and and it's kind of like within a year, creating brilliant results for other people, whether it be creating membership sites, online courses for them, or playing, events and funnels for events and stuff like that. But the one thing I know I'm crap at, but some people say I'm not, is copying. Then I realize, actually, no, I'm not. I just need more thoughts and more time. And the thing is, everything in my life, because of all the stuff that I do, is fast. So I have to and so when I read back, my brain's just done it too quickly. So when I read back, what I've written just doesn't make sense to me. I have to go back and move that sentence back there, then take that back.
That's okay. It's better to put it down and judge it later.
Yeah.
Most people are judging as they're writing.
Yeah, I can't do that. I do just blur it out, and then I thought,
good. That's a good thing. That's a very good habit.
Is it? Okay. So that's great to hear from a copywriter.
That's most people's problems the other way around. They stop themselves while they're writing.
Right. No, I'm all flow. I'm all flow. But I find it does throw me. It just makes me sound like a complete crazy guy. But I'm a creator. I don't know if you've ever done any form of like wealth dynamics. In a lot of the entrepreneurs, go and take these things, and I'm a creator star with a bit of mechanics there, so I'm a bit geeky on the computer stuff. But yeah, I'm
creator star. So
yeah. You are as well, yeah. A lot of entrepreneurs tend to be creator star. I mean, you've got, Richard Branson and loads of people that are creator stars, and then you got the people in the back, are lords and stuff like that, which are very numbers orientated and all that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I mean, but there are, that's why there's benefits of partnerships when you align yourself with the right people that you complement each other, not headbutt each other. There's a difference because you can almost be so different. It's almost like, why are you like that? But the truth is, you find the right team, you can go, far. Because you said yourself, you're working with Brett, yeah? Is it Brett? You mentioned
Brent.
Right. Okay. And so, where did you turn from, independent, on your own to working in teams? Was it obviously you're working for a lot of other people, creating great results for them, but when did you actually sort of like make that sort of like pivotal jump?
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to hop off in a minute here.
Yeah,
but,
me too. Sorry, it's gone.
No, that's fine. The big change. So when I had the water company, I realized that I was a terrible CEO and that I hated it. And I was trying to do everything, and I mean, we had employees and stuff, but I felt like I'd realized something before that, which is if I'm writing copy and making videos and somebody else is running traffic and somebody's dealing with operations, a lot of money gets made. So I just said, I want to put myself in a position to do that again. And so ironically though, with this business with Brent, I have taken on more of the CEO role and I do run the company, but for the most part, but the difference is my teenager. So within our frame, it's the child, your wounded child, the adapted teen, and the functional adult. My teenager was basically running my businesses. So I would get shut off, I'd get overwhelmed, and I would shut down completely. I didn't want to work. I'd just, and I'd be closed off, or I'd be needless. And I'd like, I'm not going to hire someone for that. Or I'd hire someone and then I'd be like, well, fuck it, I'll do it myself. Right. And then, and things had to be perfect at times and stuff like that. And so, when I partnered with Brent, the other thing is with a business partner, most relationships end, and this goes for normal relationships as well as, romantic as well as business relationships, they end because of resentment. Resentment builds when things come up and they're not dealt with right away. So Brent and I have a format that he's developed that literally when we have something come up, we deal with it immediately. So there's zero resentment. We've had probably 3 or 4 things come up that we've had to deal with and talk about. And we have no leftover resentment because we dealt with them right away. And we have the capacity to do that with each other. In general, it doesn't happen. That's why almost all partnerships break down at some point. And so, but for me, I mean, he's, in my opinion, he's like the Michael Jordan of fixing people's stuff and helping people grow. And so I basically, the most anybody's ever gotten to see Brent is twice a year, and they're paying $45,000 a year. And I'm with him every few weeks and we talk all the time. I'm literally getting to basically play basketball with Michael Jordan. And then, I have my own stuff that I teach within it. And then, I fill the spaces and stuff. And so, the work was so impactful for me that I couldn't not do it, is really what it comes down to. Yeah. I mean, and he's had offers he worked, like Neil Strauss worked with him, and then like these people that have been like, very people far, far, far more successful than me who've wanted to work with him and do stuff. And he's just always said no. And somehow I ended up being the right person. I feel very grateful to be that person. But what we're teaching is incredibly important to me. And so that's really what I couldn't not do this. It wasn't really an option.
It aligns with your values, and I get that, and that's where you get more productive and be more successful, because that's what really matters. If you've got that alignment, then I can see how that works. Okay, I want to really thank you. Before I go, I always ask every person I interview, who would they recommend, or do they know anyone that would be, an ideal fit for this kind of like format? The mic drop up close, and if you don't have to answer it live, you can either answer. If some of them have answered it live, like Davin Michaels knew straight away who he thought would be great for this, or just shoot it an email to me privately later on, and it'd be nice to connect with them and get them on the show, because I think it creates a domino effect of getting similar people at a certain level. Not that that matters, because I have anyone on here, but it's just nice to see how that domino effect, that sort of like, how it grows.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who'd be a good fit right away, but I'll get back to you on
yeah, that's cool. Throw it in an email. But I want to say, message, because we're friends on Facebook. But I just want to say thank you ever so much. It's been a pleasure having you on board. I know you're not busy. I know you are really, really, you're a great guy. I love your videos. Keep doing them. I'm going to go and check a few of them out. Honestly, that's what I'm going to do. When I'm feeling a bit down, I'm going to go and check out one of your comedy sketches, I think.
I'm glad that, honestly, man, I had, when part of my, because I do stand-up comedy as well, and I've started to pursue that more fully now that I've gotten rid of a lot of the shame and guilt around it. But I used to have issues with wanting to do comedy I felt guilty about it, partially because I thought that I thought I was designed to go and kill bad people and save people's lives in that way. And so I always thought what I do with my life has to directly save people's lives. And then I realized over time, I didn't, and it wasn't until there was one example of like, that comedy really can change people's lives, because I had a friend who had some stuff happen with his mum and then a girlfriend and then all these things all at once. And he was on the verge of, not wanting to be alive anymore. And he said he was having really bad, he was sort of on the edge, and he found one of my videos popped up where he, it was actually, I think, me on the beach. And he said he laughed so hard, he started crying, and it just made everything okay. And I was like,
true.
If somebody's on the edge of, not wanting to be alive anymore, and they watch that and that keeps them from doing something bad, I just never would have imagined that to be the case. And so whenever there's all sorts of hate, I'm sure, people can, I get shockingly little of it, but like, people can hate on any sort of videos. And the thing is you have fucking 99 people who go, I don't like something. And if one person actually changes their life in a really positive way because of it, then fuck the 99.
I did it. So yeah, totally agree. Sorry. Okay.
No, that's it. So I'm really happy to hear. It's, it always, because the videos are just very fun for me. I have an incredible time.
No, you got to crack on. You got to keep on doing them. Honestly,
yeah, so
I swear to this. I was in bed feeling very, very depressed. And you get these ups and downs. It's life, and I was feeling quite down. And I'm quite passionate and very open about my feelings. Because I know it's helped people. And there's been people that literally, I did a YouTube video, and this guy said, I'm glad that this video you did to help save me. Literally saved me. And I've had people say the same thing going through the disability and the book and all this kind of really helped people. And yet the reality is, even my son's story has stopped other children getting disabled. So parents have been warned through the book. And so they've said, we saved their child, because where the doctors have said, no, it's fine. They didn't listen. They sort of like re-questioned it, which is what saved their child. So, I'm really thankful for that. But one thing that really cheered me up a couple of weeks ago was when I was searching for your videos, because I'm going to put the post out and so on. And I was feeling quite shit, to be honest. I was feeling really crap. And I know you got to go, sorry, but and I was just watching through them. And I honestly, like a crazy man, my wife was downstairs and she could just hear me laughing like an idiot. She could just hear me, what are you on about? What are you doing? It's like, I was just like laughing. And I'd play the other one, I'd laugh. And it's just like constantly laughing. I'm thinking, what the hell? It was because I know, when you know these entrepreneurs, you know what they're like. It's just so connected, so much to it. And yet it's all in light, because we all know, we've got a lot of respect for a lot of these entrepreneurs. It's all in, light humor. But it's just, I just loved it. I think we got to. I take the piss out of myself. I've got a friend who messaged me on here saying, "Oh, Coconut Head or Peanut Head's live again," because I shared it out a few times. He's always taking the piss out of my boldness. But you know, I think you've got to be prepared to take a bit of shit if you give a bit of shit. Basically, have a bit of a laugh. And I personally love your videos. You've got to keep on them because, you know, I saw your advert on one of them and it just had me in stitches, man.
I'm glad, man. That makes me really happy. Thank you for sharing that.
You put
inspiring for me to keep making them.
But we'll have to connect again. Definitely shoot me a link to the stuff that you're doing, and I'll put it in a post, and I'll probably do a follow-up video and put my nuggets and stuff from what I learned from you and put a few repost your links.
Cool.
In the next couple of days or so. But it's great connecting with you. Let me know who you think would be ideal for this, and it'd be great to carry on. All right, buddy?
Awesome.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Take care. Do your English accent before we go. Come on, I've heard it.
Well, my proper one, my old English accent when I used to talk.
Old English accent.
This is how I used to talk when I moved back to America, but it sort of faded over time, and now I sound like a fucking Australian, innit?
I've seen the English one. Is like when you're in the suit. It's like
Richard Daniel. Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Disgusted by the port. Absolutely disgusted.
I can't put an American accent on. I'm afraid. I can't do it.
It's not. More English people can do American than American can do English, but most people just aren't.
No, you got it. You got it spot on. You do the Ali G one as well.
Yeah. In it, bruv.
In it, bruv.
In it. Yeah, no, I don't know. I've been doing voices and accents since I was like 5, so.
Oh, I love it, mate. Anyway, booyaka chas to you, and we're going to shoot off. Thanks again for joining Mike Mike Drops Up Close. I really appreciate your time, and I'm going to edit it at some point and put it on YouTube, and I'll send you the link as well. But thanks again. Really appreciate it. Thanks again, buddy. You take care. All the best. Thank you, mate.